Salty electrolytes are all the rage right now. But did you know that consuming excess sodium is linked to the same inflammation and chronic disease mechanisms seen in insulin resistance? I'm Katie, a functional medicine practitioner. My practice of 5 providers has helped patients reverse autoimmune disease, wean off mood medications after 20 years, and lose over 100 pounds, all by addressing their root causes. Today, we're cutting through the noise of the sodium frenzy so you can make data-driven decisions instead of falling for trendy marketing. This all started when I went to a conference that included a pack of 𝗙𝗰𝗁𝗃 electrolyte sticks in the swag bag. So many of our patients had recently started drinking these, and I didn't understand why they'd pay so much for something we all have access to for pennies: salt. Then I got it. Their packaging had what appeared to be some research highlighting the fact that we've all been duped by the government, that high doses of sodium were actually important to health, and the low recommended doses could be harmful to health. As a nutritionist, I was shocked and confused. Wait, what? If this is true, how could I have missed it after all these years of education and practice? Let's talk about what I found as I dug into their claims, starting with the basics. By the end of this video, you'll understand the whole picture when it comes to salt and know what to recommend to your clients and why. Electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, are essential for nerve conduction, hydration, heart rhythm, and blood pressure. So if your clients take drugs for hypertension, it's critical that they track at-home readings if they're going to change their electrolyte intake, because that could impact their blood pressure. However, just because a mineral does some important task doesn't mean that more is better. 𝗙𝗁𝗃 loves to highlight that the sweet spot for sodium excretion is 4 to 6 grams per day, citing a study that used only 1 urine sample and tracked for an average of 4.5 years. What they don't mention is that the average person already excretes 3.5 to 5 grams per day without using electrolytes. That means adding their high sodium packets easily pushes intake above 5 grams, which every long-term study shows raises cardiovascular mortality risk, not just risk of disease, but of mortality. The study also didn't provide data on the risk associated with the 3 to 4 gram excretion group. Rather, it only compared 4 to 6 grams to less than 3 grams. 1 urine sample taken in a long-term study cannot accurately categorize participants into the right sodium intake group. Indeed, studies using multiple samples over years find that the lowest cardiovascular risk is with 3 to 3.5 grams per day. In addition, duration of follow-up matters. When the same cohorts that show high levels are beneficial are followed longer, the ideal range actually drops. For instance, a 3.7-year study found that 4 to 6 grams per day was the lowest risk. But when they extended the study to 8.2 years, 3 to 5 grams per day became the safe zone, and greater than 5 grams per day raised risk. Another 8.8-year study showed that those excreting 2.2 grams per day had the lowest cardiovascular disease rates. So the more comprehensive methods show that moderate sodium, not high, is optimal. But these are our observational studies. Let's also bring in randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, since they're the strongest evidence that we have. A meta-analysis of 5 RCTs found that reducing sodium by 1 gram per day cut cardiovascular risk by 28%. These subjects typically reduced intake from 2,500 milligrams to 3,500 milligrams down to 1,500 milligrams per day. Another 15-year trial showed that people consuming less than 2,300 milligrams per day had 32% lower cardiovascular risk than those eating 3,600 to 4,800 milligrams of sodium. And a causal analysis confirmed sodium directly drives cardiovascular events. And interestingly, traditional diets in less industrialized nations average 2 to 3 grams per day of sodium, levels that are also aligned with pre-processed food eras. Salt, or sodium chloride, is essential, but like glucose, it's only beneficial within a narrow range. Go too low and the body can't function. Go too high and you invite inflammation, hypertension or high blood pressure, and even autoimmunity. You may be thinking, But wait, not everyone reacts the same way to sodium, to salt intake. Correct. When the body's regulatory systems work well, it compensates for high sodium intake by adjusting blood volume and kidney filtration. But for those who are salt sensitive, that compensation fails, causing hypertension. Roughly 50% of hypertensive patients fall into this category. It's not just a genetic thing though. Salt sensitivity usually stems from endothelial dysfunction, which means inflamed arteries that can no longer respond properly to sodium load. Ironically, a long-term high salt diet, like the one that's promoted by 𝗙𝗰𝗁𝗃 and other factions on the internet, promote that same dysfunction in the arteries, as does age and insulin resistance. So even if you're not sensitive to it, it's still best to limit it. This is because salt itself can be inflammatory. High sodium increases Th17 cells, which are potent drivers of not only inflammation, but also autoimmunity. It also amplifies white blood cell cytokine production, which is going to damage your tissues in your body. Animal models show sodium aggravates lupus and raises inflammatory compounds that are tied to multiple sclerosis, IBD, and rheumatoid arthritis. Excess sodium also impacts bones by increasing calcium excretion, leading to lower bone density over time. Finally, even your gut feels it. High salt intake kills off beneficial 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃 species, worsening blood pressure and autoimmune flares because of the impact of the gut on the rest of the body. Reintroducing lactobacillus through probiotics reversed both of these issues in mice, proving that salt produces systemic inflammation partly through its negative effects on the gut. And as functional medicine practitioners, we all know the importance of gut health. So anything that could worsen gut health, not so great. And not only gut health, but also symptoms. Did you know that a high salt meal can make you just as bloated as excess fiber? A study of 412 participants found bloating directly increased with sodium intake in a dose-response manner, regardless of fiber consumption. Now, there are some people that eat so regimented and never consume food from jars, cans, packages, or restaurants. They may benefit from adding more salt to their food. There are also certain conditions, such as adrenal dysfunction or POTS, that can benefit from extra intake. But these are unique, uncommon cases, which we address in more detail in our Functional Practitioner Academy. So here's the takeaway for the majority of your practice. Electrolytes are essential, but balance is everything. High sodium formulas like 𝗙𝗁𝗃 should only be used when you need more sodium, such as during heavy sweat or electrolyte loss, or intense exercise, heat exposure, or illness like vomiting or diarrhea. For daily hydration, a balanced electrolyte with low sodium, because I mentioned earlier, we're already getting in those ranges that are good for health, plenty of potassium, and moderate magnesium is ideal. The FDA recommends below 2,300 milligrams per day of sodium for everyone, and 1,500 milligrams if you have hypertension or heart disease. But we know we don't follow the FDA recommendations, right? Just letting you know the context there. What does the average American consume? 3,400 milligrams per day. I personally stick with around 2 to 2.5 grams per day because of those inflammation and gut-related effects. So despite the supplement industry pushing the "we need more salt" narrative, the actual research shows that we need to walk a tight line on our intake. Your clients don't need more salt. They need more science. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more evidence-based strategies to optimize health without falling for trends. And if you're a practitioner who wants access to the full research library, including takeaways like this one, check out the Functional Practitioner Academy in the description below.